Today's probably one of the most stressful days that I will have. Oh yeah, happy Vlogmas day 12. But today is probably one of the most stressful days I will have for the rest of this year. So at least, you know, I have to look at it like that. But this morning I have an NHS meeting. Today my project is going down for NHS. My project is making dog treats and donating it to a no-kill animal shelter. So Maya and I did this last year. If you look back on our videos, you can probably find a video where we went and got all the stuff to make the dog treats. But that is what we are doing again this year, except it's my project this year. So yeah, Mia's going to run it for me because I won't be able to, because I'm going to be interviewed by a freshman for school, and then right after school we have to leave to go to an FFA competition. So that is why I have my official dress. Guys, I actually have no clue what I'm doing for today's video because it is already like 6 o'clock and I really want to play Sims. Sorry, not sorry, but I think I am going to open up my advent calendar because I have to open up yesterday's and today's. Here's the leg lamp. Girl. There we go. That was the leg lamp. Now I need to do some clips of the lamp. Winter's sucking up to me because she was mean to me when I came in, and I told her that I'm gonna take away her gifts if she's mean to me like that again. Okay, I think the video I'm gonna do is I'm going to go through all of my books I own and share with you what ones I've read, what ones I haven't read, and just kind of like what books I own on my shelf. I feel that it's an easier video for me to do so late in the evening. I will share what ones I've read, what ones I haven't read, and yeah. So first up, I'm starting with like my fantasy kind of books, like more so high stakes, but then I also have more books over here that don't really fit in a category, but I'll explain in a second. So first up, I have the Harry Potter series. I'll go through the whole series. So first up, Harry Potter, and this says the Philosopher's Stone, but it's also called the Sorcerer's Stone. I read that book. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I gave that one like 3. I did not like that book that much. This is the third book, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This one I gave 5 stars. Ending is so good. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, I read about like I think 20% into the book. I want to get back into it now that I actually have free time, but I'm just waiting for that, so this hasn't been rated yet. Next up is the 5th book, which is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This book is a brick. I'm so excited to read it. Next up is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This is the 7th or 6th book, sorry, not 7th. And then the 7th and final book in the Harry Potter like main series is Harry Potter and Deathly Hallow, and again this is the 7th book. So yeah, so I've read about like 3.25 of the Harry Potter series. The next books I have are The Lord of the Rings, part 1, The Fellowship of the Ring. I have not read these. My dad gave them to me. I do want to read them very shortly, like soon, like within this next year. I want to read them just because I figured I like fantasy, and these books, I mean, they're only about 400 pages, which really isn't that bad. The Lord of the Rings part 2, The Two Towers. The third Lord of the Rings book, Lord of the Rings part 3, The Return of the King. I had The Hobbit. I don't know where The Hobbit went. So there's that. And then next up, I have the Hunger Games series. So I do own the Ballad Songbirds and Snakes, but I'm letting somebody borrow it currently. So, but I have Hunger Games, Catching Fire, which is the second book, And then Mockingjay, which is the third book of the main trilogy. That's of the trilogy, and then the prequel is Bound the Songbirds and Snakes, which I own. It's just not currently on my shelf. Then the other books I have on this shelf are books I want to read but don't really fit in categories, so I have them just laying on my shelf. These are books that I once read in school at one point or another, and I want to read again at some point. They just don't have really fit in other things. So this is Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan, and we like read it as a class when I was in 5th grade. So there's that. The Crucible by Arthur Miller. It's a play. I read it sophomore year, but I do want to reread it again. And then last but not least is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, and this book's so good. Yeah, it literally only has 180 pages, so there's that. But yeah, I want to reread these books. It's just I didn't really have a spot to put them on. That's it with that shelf. Also, I know that I kind of like showed you my books a little bit when I redid my bookshelves, but I didn't really give you like an in-depth thing into them at all. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this now. All right, next up is my romance shelf, so I'm going to share with you that and the books I've read of it. So Love and Gelato, this book is a good book. I read it my sophomore year. I read majority of it. I didn't finish it. I did not finish it, but it is a book that I want to reread. I have a lot of like books I want to reread this year, so there's that. Next up is The Worst Best Man. I have not read this book. Yeah, I got it for Christmas a few years ago. I tried reading it and I just couldn't get into it, but who knows, maybe if I try reading it again I can get into it. To Sir with Love. This book I have not read, but I'm very excited for when I do. I have plans to read it very soon, so stay tuned for that, but I am very excited to read this. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know Colleen Hoover is kind of controversial, but It Ends With Us is honestly one of the first like romance books that really made me like start to like I actually cried during this book. Like, that's how good this book is it actually made me cry. So this will always be one of my favorite books. I also have read It Starts With Us. That's just on my Kindle, but I love that book too. That one, obviously I like it more than It Ends With Us because It Starts With Us is more happy, but It Ends With Us is a very good book. Next up is Before I Do by Sophie Cousins. I love this book. I annotated this book. This is the first book I ever annotated. But I think this book is really good. It's a romance book, and it goes back and forth in time. So it gives flashbacks to her life, and you really get to understand her as a person and understand kind of why she went the way that she did in life and everything like that. Really good book. The Roommate Pact. This book I read over the summer while I was in Florida and devoured it. I loved it. It is a really good book I love, and I definitely recommend it to anybody who loves romance. It seems like it's going to be a little risque, but it's a closed-door romance. So yeah, may I just say. And then last but not least is The Rule Book. I started to read it, but I never finished it. I wanted to wait and read the cheat sheet first. The cheat sheet is like, basically this is a part of a series, but it's not like a series that you have to necessarily read in order, but this book came after the cheat sheet. They're on the same football team, both guys in each of these books. And so, like, through this book, you find out how they ended up. But you find out in the other book how they ended up, but you get kind of more of a glimpse into their life now. So yeah, so basically it's like the second book, but also if you read them out of order, it's not a big deal. So next up on the shelf, I have these here because they're technically mystery books, but they're romance is what I grasped. I got these for Christmas last year, and it's a series, it's a trilogy. So I have Confessions it's by Sarah Forrester Davis. So it's called Confessions. And then the second book is Confessions, Breaking Down a Hurricane, and then Confession, the Antidote. And again, this is like a series kind of, or not series, but like a mystery kind of thing. Alright, next up is the shelf above, which is more of like memoirs, biographies, whatever you want to say. So first up is The Happiest Man on Earth, and it's Eddie Jacou. This book is so good. It's literally not even 200 pages, and it's about this man, Eddie, and his life during the Holocaust, and when he went to, because he went to Auschwitz, and it is a great story, and it really helps change your perspective on life too. Helps you kind of put into perspective, like, man, even though this is kind of bad, like, everything else is so great, especially compared to having to go through something like he did. My camera died, but anyway, but he, like, his story is crazy. All of the things that he went through are also crazy. And it really isn't that graphic either. But I'm so thankful that I read it. I read it for school because we have to like read certain whatever every year. And this was the book I read. And so thankful I did. Next up, it's called Jesus, the One Who Knows Your Name by Max Lucado. And this book I got a few months ago, and I started annotating it. I don't know if you see it, but I got to chapter 7, and I kind of been like, I read like a chapter a night. I haven't done that in a while. I definitely want to get back to it, so I'm probably honestly going to try and start doing that again tonight. But yeah, just reading a chapter a night, and it's really helping understand like who Jesus is, and how like you can be like Jesus. Next up, I have a Bible. It is a Bible. It's kind of like my stand-in Bible until I get a new one, but I really just wanted a nice Bible to use and read in. Next up is Counting the Cost, a memoir by Jill Duggar. I have been into the Duggar lore for quite a while, and so last year for Christmas actually I got this book, and it was so good. I definitely want to reread it again and kind of like annotate, but it was good, and I actually think I'm gonna let somebody borrow this soon because I filled them in on the Duggar lore and now they want to read this. So yes, I enjoy memoirs and I enjoy this book. I wouldn't say, well, okay, I enjoyed just like reading and getting a different perspective and a different kind of insight on their life outside of the show, and it's just interesting. It's not necessarily like a fun read, especially because some of the things that she went through were definitely not fun things, but I definitely like to just kind of see that kind of perspective and just see that different way of looking into it, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. And then last but not least on this shelf, nice catch, is Diana, Her True Story by Andrew Morton. This is a book that I wanted to read for a long time, and I just have not. I got it for Christmas last year, and I love the show The Crown. I love any kind of like lore, I guess you could say. And that book will have all of the lore I probably want, or even don't want, about Diana. She basically helped write it, from my understanding, but it was like in secret. But it was it's such a, I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't read it, but I'm sure it's such a great book, and I'm very excited to. I just haven't fully dived into it yet. And then last but not least is the last shelf on my bookshelf. And up there is mainly just books that I do not want to read again, and then 2 cookbooks. Not that I have anything against the cookbooks, I don't. It's just that's the shelf that they fit on. But I'm not even going to show them to you. But basically they're just books that like I don't want to read or anything. But I think that was a good way to do today's Vlogmas day. This weekend is going to be a fun Vlogmas video. I'm very excited for it. And I have a surprise for Vlogmas day 13. So stay tuned for that surprise. I will see you guys tomorrow.